Why do you like cars so much?
I love the power, I love the speed, I love the elegance, I love the engineering, I love the design, I love the feel, I love the vibration, I love the smell. It engages all the senses. There's nothing like a fine automobile.
Very good now.
So I'm reading over the specs on this Duesenberg. It's a 1934 model, 265 horsepower, price when new, $14,750. Let's put that in perspective. A Model A Ford of the time would have sold for around $400 or $500. This sold for $14,750. A Model A Ford would have had 40 horsepower. This had 265 horsepower. They also made models with an available supercharger that made 320 horsepower. So Duesenbergs weren't a little bit more powerful or a little bit more expensive than your average car. They were orders of magnitude more expensive and tremendously more powerful. So it would be like a Bugatti today is what a Duesenberg was like in the 1920s and 1930s, and these were made right here in Indiana. While Henry Ford is often quoted as saying, you can have any color you want as long as it's black, Duesenberg sometimes took a different route. As you can see, a lot of their designs were very flamboyant, right? This has got both blue and green and black with bright yellow wheels, a tan top, a very in-your-face, a very look-at-me type of design. One of the other things that's interesting about Duesenbergs, at the time, a luxury car was to be very quiet, very reserved. Duesenbergs all had engine exhaust cutouts. So when you wanted to get rowdy, you'd pull the lever, and this thing was running straight pipes. This is a car to go fast and to be seen. A lot of people have heard the phrase, it's a doozy. Well, they don't realize where that phrase comes from, and it comes from Duesenberg. When you say it's a doozy, you're talking about it's the best, it's extravagant, it's extreme, and that is exactly what a Duesenberg automobile is and was. And when you see this car, it is indeed a doozy. You've probably heard the phrase Mopar or no car. Well, in this case, maybe it's Mopar or no boat. This is a 1931 boat powered by a Dodge engine. Absolute gorgeous work of art for the water. A lot of us love the pop-up headlights that were popular in the 1980s and 1990s on cars, but did you know it all started with this cord? If you take a look at the headlights, they pop up, but unlike a lot of the headlights that popped up in the 1980s or the 1990s, these don't work via vacuum, they don't work by electric motor. If you come and look at the inside, there is a hand crank right in there, and there's actually one for the left side and one for the right side. So you could make them wink, you could make them blink, you could bring them up or down, whether the engine's running or not. This is the original pop-up headlight on the Cord 810 and 812 models made right here in Indiana. Duesenberg with the boat tail and how it inspired the legendary Auburn boat tail speedster. Well, here is one of the Auburn boat tail speedsters. This one is supercharged, means it's top of the line. This was a fast car. There's actually a plaque on the dash certifying from the factory that before this car was shipped to the dealership, it was certified of having gone over 100 miles an hour in the 1930s.
1932 Ruxton. This thing is cool. This is a 1932 Ruxton, and if you see here, you've got just an assortment of colors. You got black, dark gray, gray, light gray, lighter gray, back to black, white, light gray again, and then you've got a three-tone roof on top of that. This thing is the gangster's car of its day. This is so cool. So we talk about chauffeuring and having your chauffeur in the front and your wealthy people in the back. This is a modern day at the time speaker, so that the person in the back could talk to the driver. And it ran through a hose that ran into the back, so you could communicate to your driver and tell him where you needed to go. So you probably know that the Auburn Cord Duesenbergs were all made here in Indiana, but so was this car. This is a 1920 Revere. It was the company was started in 1918 and was produced in Logansport, Indiana. So those of you over there in Logansport, you might recognize these because your grandpappy might have seen one driving around.
One of the cool things about the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Museum is it is family friendly. They've got several vehicles that the kids are free to sit in and really experience firsthand. Here's Preston learning how to drive an Indy car. Look at these various Studebakers. Studebaker, legendary Indiana manufacturer. Here, right here is a Stutz, once again, made in Indiana. Just amazing, amazing cars. The rich automotive history that Indiana has is captured right here at the Auburn Court Duesenberg Museum.
If you want to talk about how primitive automobile technology was back in the day, this has a hand-squeezed horn that runs all the way out, this little tuba instrument-looking horn, and that was your horn. But look at this windshield. There's no windscreen on this car. It literally was just a small windshield that you sat behind physically as you walked around or as you drove this car down the street. So this is super cool because this is a recreation of a 1929 Auburn cabin speedster. Only one of these was ever produced by Auburn, but the one that was produced and made was lost in a fire at an exhibition show where 320 cars were destroyed, this being one of them. For 50 years, this car only existed in photographs, and then a doctor from here in Indiana fell in love with one of those photographs and decided he was going to recreate this car from the ground up based on the photos, and so that's what he did. So this is a really, really cool recreation of a one-of-one car, and this is the only one in the world.
Now, one of the things you'll notice, this is a 1930 Cord L29. If you look down here under the fender, you'll notice something you don't see on many old cars, and that are drive shafts. Cord was known for front-wheel drive. The famous Cord 810s and 812s are all front-wheel drive. So was this one, a very unusual feature in the 1920s and 30s.
Here we're going to be in one of my personal favorite sections, the racing section. I'm a huge race fan. This car right here that we're standing in front of was one of Duesenberg's first race cars. This won 6th place in 1915 in the Indy 500. So this is what an Indy 500 car used to look like. And if you go up to the cabin here, you'll notice there are 2 seats because back in the day, you used to drive with your mechanic in your vehicle. There weren't huge pit crews. Your mechanic literally rode right next to you and identified problems on the fly.
Before days of PPF, we had stainless steel caps.
One of the awesome features on these Duesenbergs, Duesenberg wasn't the only company to do it, but certainly this is representative of the technology at the time. This beautiful chrome grille would have been nickel plated. You notice it's closed off right now. So when the radiator is cool, this is blocked off, keeping air out of the radiator, but when the radiator warmed up, thermostatically controlled, these grill slats would open up, allow air to flow through the radiator and cool the engine. That's state-of-the-art technology in the 1920s and 1930s. Here's a beautiful 1933 Chrysler. And back in the 30s, Chrysler played with Cadillac, Lincoln, Mercedes-Benz, those types of players. This is a high-end car. But one of the things you might wonder, if you say, hey, we're going to go to the trunk of my car, I'm going to put these bags of grocery in the trunk. Do you ever wonder, why do we call it a trunk? Well, it's because on early cars, you literally had a trunk. So here's another Auburn Boattail Speedster. This one's got a lot of unique features. Love the dual windshields, right? So if your girlfriend's worried about her hair, she can adjust her little micro windshield one way while you adjust it another. So how about that Auburn Court Duesenberg?
Dude, that place was awesome. I'll tell you what, if you're ever in the area, I'd certainly make sure to check out the Auburn Court Duesenberg Museum. One of the coolest car museums I've ever been to in my life. And if you're in the area, definitely stop in and see us down here at My Baby Detailing so that we can take care of your car like that museum takes care of theirs.